So the last question just for you, Roger, is you've got a passion test and a purpose test, and we've got grand challenges on the planet. Just tell us a little bit about how you see us solving those grand challenges.
I'll connect that question in with just this whole idea of universal basic income and what David just shared as well, because if you think of universal basic income as just one possible solution to the actual problem, which is not having to work for money, because that's what it is. It's like giving you enough money to not have to work for money. It already exists. It's massively prevalent in the world today, right? Who actually today does not have to work for money? Your cats and dogs. I mean, like, our pets don't have to work for money. They just show up. We just feed them. It's like we just pet them. So it already exists, right? So the real question is, how do we do it and not be the robot's pets, or as Elon Musk says, become the house cats, right? Because like there's going to be enough productivity that we don't actually have to work for money. So then it kind of links into this idea of purpose, because one way you can actually say you don't have to work for money is someone pays you money. The second way is you don't need money. The third way is that the cost of living becomes so low that you actually can live without money, right? It's like any one of those three. So people that can print their own money, they create their own cryptocurrency, they don't actually have to need US dollars or pounds, they'll create their own community. And if you actually can bring down the price point, that can make a huge difference as well. I'm gonna give you an example of this. When the London riots were going on, at that point, which was like close to a decade ago, at that point, I was having dinner with some friends here, and they're saying, this is what happens when you end up in a situation where people can't get jobs, right? Everyone starts rioting. And a lot of these guys are on Social Security, right? They've got enough money to survive, but they're still rioting because of the unfairness of the system. And I said, well, I live in Bali, where lots of people don't have to work because the cost of living is so low, and people don't riot. So what are they doing when they don't have to work for money? Like, because the whole point of UBI is that, well, like, they're going to be lazy. Like, if we give people money, they're going to actually become destructive. They're going to sit and watch TV all day. But in Bali, when people like don't have to work for money because the cost of living is so low. I had a guy from Netherlands who came there, and we run these programs in Bali. And I said, when you come to Bali, you're going to have a whole different relationship to money. And he goes, how do you mean? I said, you just watch. The next day he comes into the course and he's like, oh my gosh, I get what you mean. Because I went down this morning to the village and I looked at the bananas down there, and back in the Netherlands it cost like 10 euros to get any bananas, and I could get an entire bunch for less than €1. And I'm like, why would you do that? There's a banana tree out the back. It's like you just pick up bananas, right? So the point is that when things are free, like nature provides, right? So when things are like not at the same cost that we make it in our society, which is basically asset inflation. Like when we don't do that, then we have a whole different view. So what do they do instead? They all do things on purpose. Some of them work on some big goal, like cleaning up the litter or the plastic. Some of them work with their kids at school. Some of them work on their self-expression. They learn a new guitar. They play in the local bar, and everyone's doing something which is more meaningful, which is the whole point of being here on the planet, right? So Buckminster Fuller, who's one of my mentors, he basically says that we will get to a day where we will suddenly realize that we don't need to work for money, and then we'll go and do the actual thing we were meant to do here on the planet, which is to live our meaning. United Nations global goals, they've been set, there's 17 of them to hit by 2030. This year is a really critical year, because this year on the 10th of December, it is the 70th anniversary of the very, very first Declaration of Human Rights that took place, the UN Human Rights. 70 years, that means we are only one generation in to actually treating humans as a humanity. One generation, that's it, right? And even just the acknowledgement that we're all one has shifted our relationship to each other when it comes to war. So when you then take that and say, well, if we're not going to destroy each other and we're not going to destroy ourselves by having to just grind it out, then what are we going to do? And then that's when it comes down to realizing that purpose becomes really important. And self-awareness isn't just what's my talent, it's also what are my passions, what do I love to do, it's what are my purpose, which is what's the meaning for me being on the planet. And one of the largest concepts that we have, which is that we teach all entrepreneurs, is the concept of Ikigai. Ikigai, I-K-I-G-A-I, is a Japanese term which means your reason for being, and it's the intersection of 4 circles. One circle is what you're best at, which is your talent. One is what you love, which is your passions. One is what the world needs, which is your purpose. And then the other one is what you get paid for, which is your business model, right? And if you actually have a business model that pays for itself, then you never have to work for money. And I think probably most of the entrepreneurs that I know who are at that level, they could retire, they don't need money, but they're still doing it because they're doing it for the purpose more than they're doing it for the money.